Taman checked his reflection one more time in the polished metal panel. His uniform was perfect, every button aligned, every crease sharp. He had spent 3 years studying alien biology, but today was different. Today he would meet the Velkara for the first time. Everyone said they were the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. They controlled 73 star systems. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 5 years, and Earth still felt like the new kid in school. The diplomatic vessel Horizon's Promise hummed softly around him. Through the observation window he could see their ship approaching. It was massive, shaped like a crystal flower with petals that seemed to shift colors, beautiful and intimidating at the same time. Nervous, Heejin appeared beside him. She was the cultural liaison officer, which meant she knew everything about alien customs. Her job was to make sure humans didn't accidentally offend anyone. A little, Taman admitted. I've read everything we have about the Velkara, but it's not much. Heejin nodded. They don't share a lot about themselves. What we do know is important, though. Their princess is coming today. Her name is Arenvel. At least that's the closest translation we have. You won't see her face in the veil thing? Exactly. Velkara royalty always wear these energy veils when meeting other species. They consider most aliens to be, well, aesthetically inferior. The veil protects them from having to look at us too directly, and it keeps us from seeing them. Taman frowned. That seems harsh. It's their culture. We have to respect it if we want this alliance. Heejin pulled out her datapad. Remember the rules. No direct physical contact. Bow at 15 degrees, not more, not less. Let them speak first. And for the love of Earth, don't ask about what's under the veil. The announcement came over the speakers. The Velkara delegation was boarding. Taman followed Heejin to the main diplomatic hall. The room was designed to be neutral, nothing too human or too alien. Soft lighting, simple furniture, air that had been carefully balanced for multiple species to breathe comfortably. The doors opened with a soft hiss. The Velkara entered and Taman felt his breath catch. There were 5 of them, all tall and graceful in their movements. They wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid metal, flowing and shimmering with each step. But what drew his attention was the princess. She moved like water, smooth and elegant. Above her head floated the veil Heejin had mentioned. It was made of particles of light, shifting in colors he didn't have names for. It covered where her face should be, creating a wall of gentle radiance. He couldn't see anything of her features, just the glow. Deho, his superior, stepped forward and bowed exactly 15 degrees. The humans had practiced this 100 times. Taman copied the gesture, keeping his eyes lowered respectfully. Welcome to Horizon's Promise, Deho said in carefully practiced Velkaran. We are honored by your presence. One of the Velkara delegates responded, but Taman wasn't paying attention. He could feel someone watching him. He risked a glance up and saw that the princess had turned her veiled face toward him. Even though he couldn't see her eyes, he knew she was looking at him. The sensation was strange, like electricity on his skin. The formal greetings continued. Both sides exchanged gifts and pleasantries. Taman's role was simple. Stand, look professional, and answer any questions about human biology if asked. The Velkara were interested in setting up trade routes. Earth had certain minerals they wanted, and they offered advanced technology in return. Everything was going smoothly until it happened. The ship's gravity fluctuated. It was just for a second, a technical glitch that the engineers would fix in moments. But a second was enough. The princess stumbled, her graceful composure broken. Without thinking, Taman stepped forward and caught her arm. His hand made contact with her skin through the sleeve of her robe. It was warm, warmer than human skin, and it had a strange texture, almost like very fine silk over something firm. The moment lasted less than a heartbeat. She steadied herself, and he immediately let go, stepping back. The room went completely silent. Every Velkara stared at him. The air felt heavy, like before a thunderstorm. Taman realized he had done something terribly wrong. I apologize, he said quickly, bowing deeply. The gravity malfunction, I only meant to help. The princess spoke for the first time. Her voice was melodic, strange, with harmonics that human vocal cords couldn't produce. The translator in his ear rendered it into words. You have our thanks, but her delegates didn't look thankful. They looked horrified. One of them stepped forward and spoke rapidly in their language to Deho. The translator struggled to keep up, but Taman caught words like contamination and protocol violation, and inappropriate contact. The meeting ended shortly after. The Velkara delegation departed with cold formality. Deho's face was red as he turned to Taman. "My office now." The next hour was painful. Deho explained in detail how Taman had violated 3 separate Velkara customs. Physical contact with royalty without permission was forbidden. Touching someone of higher rank before they touched you was an insult. And making physical contact with any Velkara while they wore ceremonial garments was considered almost sacrilegious. But the gravity failed. Taman protested. She was falling. What was I supposed to do? Let her fall, Deho said flatly. Or let her own guards catch her, not you. Definitely not you. He rubbed his temples. I'm going to have to file about 50 apology forms. The diplomatic team will be working overtime to smooth this over. Taman returned to his quarters feeling miserable. He had wanted to help humanity make a good impression. Instead, he might have damaged the whole alliance. He sat at his desk and stared at his computer screen, not really seeing it. An alert popped up. Incoming private communication. His heart sank. Was this more bad news? He opened it. The message was encoded with Velkara encryption. His computer took a moment to translate it. When the words appeared on his screen, Taman's eyes went wide. Thank you for catching me. I would like to speak with you privately, if you are willing. This is Princess Arenvel. He read it 3 times to make sure he wasn't imagining it. A private communication from the princess herself. That wasn't just unusual. According to everything Hygiene had taught him, it was supposed to be impossible. Taman's hand hovered over the keyboard. He should report this to Deho. It was probably another protocol he didn't understand. But something made him hesitate. Curiosity, maybe. Or the memory of that moment when she had looked at him through her veil. He typed a response. I would be honored to speak with you. He hit send before he could change his mind. Within seconds, another message arrived with coordinates for a secure communication channel and a time. Midnight. Ship time. Taman leaned back in his chair. He had already broken the rules once today. What was one more time? Besides, he wanted to know what an alien princess could possibly want to say to a simple xenobiologist who had made the mistake of catching her when she fell. Midnight came slowly. Taman tried to work on his reports, but his mind kept wandering. What did Princess Arenvel want? Was this a trap? Maybe he had offended her so badly that she wanted to tell him personally. Or maybe the Velkara had strange customs where private midnight conversations were normal after protocol violations. He sat at his desk and activated the secure channel at exactly midnight. His screen flickered and then she appeared. She was alone in what looked like a private chamber on her ship. The veil still floated above her, hiding her features in that shifting light. But something was different. Her posture was relaxed, not formal like before. You actually came, she said. Her voice through the translator was warmer than before, almost surprised. You asked me to, Taman replied, though I have to admit I don't understand why. Because I needed to speak with someone and I think you might understand. She moved closer to the screen. Even through the veil, he could sense her looking at him intently. Tell me, Taman of Earth, why did you catch me today? Instinct, he answered honestly. You were falling. Where I come from, you help people who are falling. Even aliens? Even someone from a species that considers your kind inferior? Taman felt a flash of annoyance. Do you consider us inferior? There was a long pause. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. I was raised to believe that. My tutors taught me that the Velkara are the pinnacle of genetic achievement. Every other species is lesser in some way. Too emotional. Too short-lived. Too chaotic. Too simple. She tilted her head, the veil shifting with the movement. But I don't think I believe that anymore. What changed your mind? Your people did. When Earth made first contact 5 years ago, I was fascinated. My tutors tried to dismiss humans as just another primitive species. But I couldn't stop learning about you. Your art, your music, your literature. You create beauty from chaos. You feel things so deeply that you make art about it. You die in less than a century, yet you spend your short lives reaching for the stars anyway. Taman didn't know what to say. He had never heard an alien speak about humanity like this. Arenvel continued. I have been studying your species for 5 years. I have read your Shakespeare and your Maya Angelou. I have listened to your Beethoven and your traditional Korean music. I have watched your films and studied your history. You are not inferior. You are different. And that difference is beautiful. That's not what your culture teaches, is it? No. If anyone knew I was saying this, I would be sent for genetic counseling. They would say my programming is defective. She laughed, but it sounded sad. Maybe it is. I am supposed to marry Commander Zevroskar in 3 months. It is arranged. Our genetic profiles are compatible, and the union will strengthen the military's alliance with the royal family. I have never questioned it before. Before? Taman asked gently. Before today. Before you touched me. Her voice became very quiet. No one outside my species has ever touched me. It is forbidden. But when you caught me, when your hand was on my arm, I felt something. It was warm. It was kind. It was gentle. And I realized that I have spent my entire life behind barriers, never actually connecting with anyone. Taman leaned forward. What do you want, Arenville? I want to understand. I want to know if what I feel is real or if it is just curiosity. I want to know if someone can truly see beyond what they are taught. She paused. Will you help me understand humans? Will you talk with me again? This is against the rules, isn't it? Yes, very much against the rules. If my delegates find out, there will be consequences for both of us. Taman thought about Deho's angry face, about the diplomatic incident he had already caused, about how much trouble he could get into. Then he thought about the sadness in her voice when she talked about her arranged marriage. I'll do it, he said. Ask me anything. And so it began. They talked for 2 hours that first night. She asked him about love, about human courtship rituals, about how people chose their partners. She asked about families and friendships and all the messy emotional connections that humans took for granted. Taman answered as best he could, sometimes feeling foolish trying to explain things he had never really thought about before. So humans can love someone they are not genetically compatible with? She asked at one point. We don't really think about genetic compatibility, Taman explained. I mean, we try not to have children with close relatives, but beyond that, people fall in love with who they fall in love with. Sometimes it makes sense to everyone around them. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to anyone, including the couple. But that's not really the point. Then what is the point? Connection. Understanding. Caring about someone else's happiness as much as your own. Wanting to be with them not because someone arranged it, but because you choose it. Every single day you choose them. Arenville was silent for a long moment. That sounds terrifying. It can be, but it's also wonderful. They talked until the early hours of the morning. When they finally disconnected, Taman felt like he had run a marathon. His mind was buzzing with everything they had discussed. The next day, Deho informed him that the Velkara had requested an extension of the diplomatic summit. There would be a cultural exchange program. Taman tried not to look too interested when Deho mentioned that Princess Arenville had volunteered to stay as the Velkara representative. It's unusual, Deho said, frowning. Royalty doesn't usually participate in these programs. But Ambassador Bora thinks it's a good sign. Shows they're taking the alliance seriously. What Deho didn't know was that Taman had received another message from Arenville. I want more time. I need to understand this feeling. Please don't tell anyone about our conversations. He replied, I won't. But Arenville, be careful. We're playing with fire here. Her response came back quickly. Then perhaps it is time I learned what it feels like to burn. Over the next 2 weeks, they fell into a pattern. During the day, Taman was assigned as her human liaison. It was his job to show her around Horizon's promise, to explain human customs and answer her questions. They kept everything professional, proper. But at night they talked on the secure channel. He showed her human music. She was particularly moved by sad songs, by blues and traditional Korean folk music that spoke of longing and loss. In Velkara culture, she explained, music was mathematical. Beautiful but calculated. There was no room for the raw emotion that humans poured into their art. He read her poetry. She listened with what he imagined was wonder as he recited verses about love and heartbreak and hope. She said her people had poetry too, but it was about genetics and optimization and the glory of their empire, nothing about feelings. We are trained from birth to suppress inefficient emotions, she told him one night. Sadness is a waste of energy. Love is just a biological response to genetic compatibility. Even happiness is measured by productivity. We are perfect, Taman, but we are not alive, not the way you are. You seem alive to me, he said, because of you, because you are teaching me how to feel. Her voice became even softer. I think I am changing. When I look at you, when I listen to your voice, something happens inside me. My tutors would say it is a malfunction, but it feels like waking up. Taman felt his heart beating faster. This was dangerous territory. She was an alien princess betrothed to someone else, from a culture that would never accept this, and yet he couldn't deny what he was feeling either. Arenvel, he said carefully, what happens when the cultural exchange ends? When you have to go back? I don't know. I am trying not to think about it. She paused. Is that very human of me? To avoid the future and just live in the moment? Very human, he agreed. Maybe too human. Good, she said. Because I am tired of being only Velkara. 3 weeks into the cultural exchange, Ambassador Bora called Taman to her office. She was an older woman with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had been negotiating with alien species since before Taman was born. Sit down, she said, not unkindly. We need to talk about the princess. Taman's stomach dropped. Did she know about the private conversations? She has requested that the exchange program be extended another month, Bora continued. And she specifically asked that you continue as her liaison. Care to tell me why? I'm just doing my job, Taman said, showing her around, answering questions about human culture. Bora studied him for a long moment. You're good at your job, Taman. Too good, maybe. I've seen the reports. She's opened up more in 3 weeks than most Velkara do in 3 years. She asks about emotions, about choice, about love. She attends human concerts and cries during sad songs. She reads poetry in her spare time. You're not just teaching her about humanity. You're changing her. Is that bad? I don't know yet. Bora leaned back in her chair. The Velkara are powerful allies, but they're also rigid, traditional. If she goes back changed, it could cause problems in their government. On the other hand, if she helps them understand us better, it could strengthen the alliance. She fixed him with a sharp look. Just be careful. With her position and with your heart. I'm old, not blind. Taman felt his face heat up. I understand. Good, the extension is approved. Try to keep any diplomatic incidents to a minimum. That evening, Taman took Arenvel to the observation deck. It was quiet there, with a massive window that showed Earth floating below them. She stood at the window for a long time, her veil shifting colors in the reflected light of the planet. It's beautiful, she said softly. Your world. So much blue and green, so much life. What does your homeworld look like? Efficient. Our cities are perfectly designed. Every building optimized for function. Our nature preserves our carefully managed ecosystems. Everything in balance, everything in its place. She turned toward him. No chaos. No surprise. No wonder. Sounds lonely. It is. I never realized how lonely until I came here. She moved closer to him. They were alone in the observation deck. Taman, I need to tell you something. I have been thinking about it for days and I cannot keep it inside anymore. His heart started racing. What is it? I have feelings for you. Not just curiosity. Not just fascination with your species. You, specifically. When I hear your voice, I feel warm inside. When you explain something with that patient way you have, I want to listen forever. When we talk at night and you laugh at something I say, I feel proud that I made you happy. She paused. Is this love? Is this what humans feel? Taman couldn't breathe for a moment. It sounds like it could be. Do you feel it too? He wanted to lie. He wanted to protect them both from the impossible situation they were creating. But he had taught her about honesty, about human connection, about feelings. He couldn't betray that now. Yes, he admitted. I feel it too. She made a sound that the translator didn't catch, something between a laugh and a sob. This is terrible timing. I am engaged. My people would never accept this. Your people might not either, and I don't even know if you could love me if you saw me. Really saw me. What do you mean? The veil, Taman. You have never seen my face. You don't know what I look like. Velkara physiology is different from human. Very different. You might find me disturbing, alien, wrong. He stepped closer to her. Do you want to show me? I am afraid to. What if you cannot love what you see? What if the connection we have built is only possible because of this barrier between us? Or what if it gets stronger? He reached out slowly, giving her time to move away. When she didn't, he placed his hand near where he thought hers might be. Her hand found his, warm and real. Arenvel, I fell in love with your mind first. Your kindness, your curiosity, your courage to question everything you were taught. Whatever you look like, that doesn't change who you are. Humans say that. But humans are visual creatures. You cannot help but judge by appearance. We can try not to, he said, and we can learn that beauty comes in many forms. You taught me that the Velkara consider themselves superior. But maybe the real test of superiority is being able to see value in things that look different from you. She laughed, a genuine sound of joy. You are using my own arguments against me. I learned from the best. They stood there, hands touching, looking out at Earth. After a while, she spoke again. I cannot show you yet. I am not brave enough, but I want to be. I want to be brave like humans are, like you are. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. But that promise was tested the very next day. Taman was in his quarters when the alert came through. A Velkara battle fleet had just arrived. Leading them was Commander Zev Roskar, the princess's betrothed. Hiejin found him in the hallway. Her face was pale. Emergency meeting in 10 minutes. The commander is demanding that Princess Arenvel return to the fleet immediately. He says she has been compromised by prolonged exposure to human influence. Can he do that? Just take her? He has a fleet of warships, Taman. What do you think? The meeting was tense. Commander Zev Roskar appeared on the main screen. He wore military armor, black and sharp, with no softness anywhere in his design. His veil was darker than Arenvel's, almost threatening. The princess will return to the fleet now, he stated. No greeting, no diplomacy. This cultural exchange has gone on too long. It has had negative effects on her programming. Ambassador Bora kept her voice calm. Princess Arenvel volunteered for this program. She has not requested extraction. She does not need to request. I am her betrothed. I have the authority to retrieve her. Not on this ship, you don't. That was Captain Jiho, a stern man who had commanded Horizon's Promise for 15 years. The princess is a guest under our protection. She leaves when she chooses to leave. Zev Roskar's voice went cold. You would defy the Velkara military over one individual? We would defend the right of any individual to make their own choices, Bora said firmly. That is what humanity stands for. Foolish, emotional, inefficient. Zev Roskar leaned forward. Let me speak plainly. The princess is valuable genetic property of the Velkara Empire. Our union has been approved at the highest levels. If you do not return her, we will consider it an act of theft. Taman felt anger rising in his chest. Genetic property? She was a person, not an object. The screen switched views. Arenvel appeared, broadcasting from her quarters on Horizon's Promise. I am not property, Zev Roskar. I am a person, and I am not ready to leave. You are confused. The humans have manipulated your emotions with their primitive sentimentality. You need genetic counseling and reprogramming. I need freedom. Her voice rang out clearly. I need the ability to choose my own path, and I choose to stay here longer. Unacceptable. I will take you by force if necessary. Captain Jiho spoke up. Try it, and you'll have to go through Earth's defense fleet. Everyone in the room stared at him. Earth's defense fleet was tiny compared to the Velkara military. It would be suicide, but Jiho didn't back down. The princess is under our protection. Any attempt to take her against her will is an act of aggression. We will respond accordingly. The screen went dark. Zev Roskar had cut the connection. Alarms started blaring as sensors detected the Velkara fleet powering weapons. Taman found Arenvel in her quarters. She was standing at her window, watching the Velkara ships position themselves around the human vessel. You don't have to do this, she said without turning around. Your people don't have to risk war for me. Yes, we do, because that's what we believe in. Everyone has the right to choose their own destiny. Everyone. He came to stand beside her. Are you afraid? Terrified. Not of dying. Of going back. Of becoming what they want me to be again. Of forgetting what I have learned here. Forgetting what I feel. That won't happen. How do you know? Because you're stronger than they think. You always have been. You just needed permission to be yourself. Outside, Earth's small defense fleet was taking position between the Velkara warships and Horizon's Promise. It was a hopeless gesture tactically, but symbolically it was everything. The standoff lasted for 3 days. 3 days of tension so thick you could taste it. 3 days of Earth's tiny fleet facing down Velkara warships that could destroy them with a single volley. 3 days of humanity refusing to back down. News of the crisis spread across the galaxy. Other species watched in fascination and horror. No one challenged the Velkara military. No one risked war over a single individual. It was illogical, they said. It was emotional. It was very, very human. Taman barely slept. When he wasn't monitoring the situation, he was talking with Aaron Vel. They didn't discuss the fleet outside or the possibility of war. Instead, they talked about small things, favorite foods, childhood memories, dreams they had for the future. As if by ignoring the danger, they could make it disappear. On the second day, Hyejin pulled him aside. Her face was drawn with exhaustion. The Galactic Council is getting involved. They're sending mediators. But Taman, the other species are not happy with us. They think we're being reckless. Some are suggesting we just hand her over to prevent a war. We can't do that. I know. But understand what Earth is risking here. Our alliance with the Velkara is our strongest relationship in the galaxy. If we lose that, if we make enemies of them, we could lose everything we've built since first contact. So what? We just sacrifice one person to keep everyone else happy? Hyejin sighed. I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm saying I understand their position. Sometimes in diplomacy, you have to make hard choices. Then I'm glad I'm not a diplomat. That night, Commander Zevroskar requested a private conversation with Aaron Vel. She agreed, but asked if Taman could be present. Zevroskar accepted, though Taman could feel the contempt through the screen. Aaron Vel, Zevroskar began. His voice was controlled, but there was anger beneath it. I do not understand this behavior. We are genetically matched. Our union will produce superior offspring. You will have status, power, purpose. What more could you want? I want to choose, she said simply. I want my life to be mine. Choice is an illusion for lesser species. We are Velkara. We do not need choice because our scientists have already calculated the optimal path for each of us. Your path is with me. What if I don't want that path? For the first time, Zevroskar showed real emotion. Frustration. You are being selfish. This union is not just about us. It affects military strategy, political alliances, genetic planning for the next 3 generations. You cannot simply change your mind because you have developed feelings. Why not? Isn't that what life is? Making choices even if they affect others? Taking responsibility for your own existence? That is human philosophy, chaotic and inefficient. Aaron Vel turned her veil toward Taman. Even though he couldn't see her eyes, he felt her looking at him. Maybe chaos is not always bad. Maybe efficiency is not always good. Maybe there is value in the unmeasured, the unplanned, the unexpected. Zevroskar made a sound of disgust. He has poisoned your mind. You sound like one of them now. Perhaps I do. Perhaps that is not a bad thing. You would choose him over me? A human? A species that dies before they reach 200? A species without genetic optimization or social order? A species that cries over fiction and makes art about sadness? Yes, Aaron Vel said softly. I would choose him. Because he sees me as a person, not as genetic property. Because he cares about what I want, not just what I can provide. Because when I am with him, I feel alive. Taman's heart was pounding so hard he thought everyone could hear it. Zevroskar was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, colder. I did not want to say this publicly, but you have forced my hand. I do not love you, Aaron Vel. I never have. Our union is political necessity. I find you adequate for breeding purposes, nothing more. When I look at you, I see genetic profiles and strategic advantages. I have never once cared what you wanted or felt or dreamed about. Aaron Vel flinched. Taman saw her hand tremble. But, Zevroskar continued, that is how it should be. Love is a weakness. Emotion is inefficiency. The fact that you have developed these feelings proves that you are defective. The fact that he encourages them proves that humans are a corrupting influence on superior species. When you return, you will be reconditioned. The memory of this episode will be erased. You will become who you were meant to be. And if I refuse to return, then you will be declared traitor to the Empire. You will be hunted, You will never be safe. And these humans who protect you? We will destroy their alliance with us. We will use our influence to isolate Earth from the galactic community. Your choice to love a human will cost his entire species their place among the stars." The screen went dark. Arenvel stood very still. Then she turned and walked away from Taman. She went to her window and looked out at the ships waiting to take her. "He is right," she said quietly. "My selfishness will hurt your people. I should go." "No." Taman came to stand beside her. "That's not selfishness. That's being human, or becoming human, I guess. Wanting to live your own life, make your own choices, that's not wrong. But the cost. Let Earth worry about the cost. Do you know what's happening out there right now? Humans all over the planet are following this story. They're watching a tiny fleet stand up to a massive empire. Do you know what they're saying? They're proud, they're inspired. Because this is what we believe in. This is who we are. Emotional, inefficient, chaotic, and free. Don't forget free." She was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "There is something you should know about the veil. It is not just tradition, it is fear." "What do you mean?" "We tell ourselves that other species are not worthy of seeing our true faces. We tell ourselves that we are too refined, too evolved for others to appreciate. But the truth, we are afraid. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of being found lacking. The veil protects us from rejection." Arenvel. "My people evolved through genetic engineering. We modified ourselves for millennia, always trying to be more perfect. But in doing so, we became something strange. Our appearance is efficient, optimized for function. But it is not what you would call beautiful. We have features that other humanoid species find disturbing, so we hide behind veils and tell ourselves we are superior. It is easier than admitting we are just different, and different is scary." Taman thought about this, about fear disguised as superiority, about walls built to protect fragile things. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "In Earth's history, we had similar problems. Different groups of humans would judge each other by appearance. Skin color, facial features, body type. They would decide that their way of looking was superior and everyone else was lesser. It caused terrible suffering, wars, slavery, genocide. What changed? We learned. Slowly, painfully, we learned that appearance means nothing, that every form of human was equally valuable, that beauty is not objective, that different is not wrong. We still struggle with it sometimes. But we know, the truth now, judging people by how they look is the real deficiency. You say that now, but you have not seen me. Then show me. I am afraid. I know, so am I. But isn't that what courage is? Being afraid and doing it anyway?" She turned to face him fully. They were close now, closer than they had ever been. He could feel warmth radiating from her, could hear the strange harmonics in her breathing. "If I show you and you cannot accept me, it will break something inside me that I cannot repair. And if you don't show me, you'll never know if what we have is real." Outside, the Velkara fleet waited. Inside, two people stood at a crossroads. The decision they made would change everything. Not just for them, but for the relationship between their species. For the definition of what it meant to love someone different. For the future of how humanity and the wider galaxy would interact. Arenvel reached up toward her veil. Her hand hovered there, trembling. "Not yet," she whispered. "Soon, but not yet. I need to be ready, and you need to understand what you are asking to see." The fourth day of the standoff began with an unexpected announcement. Princess Arenvel requested a public gathering. She wanted both human and Velkara representatives present. She wanted it broadcast to the wider galaxy. She wanted everyone to see what she had to say. Taman found her in her quarters that morning. She was standing at her window again, but this time she seemed different. Calmer, more certain. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "No, but I'm sure that I cannot keep living behind barriers. Whatever happens today, at least it will be real." The main diplomatic hall filled quickly. Human representatives, including Ambassador Bora, Captain Jiho, Hyejin, and dozens of others. The Velkara delegation, led by Zevroskar, who had come aboard with a security detail, media drones from a dozen different species all recording, and Taemin standing with his friend Sunwoo who had pulled him aside earlier. "Are you ready for this?" Sunwoo had asked. He was a xenopsychologist, someone who studied alien minds. "Whatever she shows you, whatever happens, your reaction will be recorded. The whole galaxy will see." "I know. Taemin, I've studied Velkara physiology. They are significantly different from humans. Their evolution took a very different path. What you see might be shocking. I don't care. You might care when you see it. Just be prepared. And remember that shock is a natural reaction. It doesn't mean you're rejecting her. It just means you're human." Now standing in the hall, Taemin thought about those words. The room fell silent as Arenvel entered. She moved to the center of the room, where everyone could see her. Her veil shimmered above her in its usual pattern of colors. "Thank you all for coming," she began. Her voice, translated for the many species listening, was steady. "I have spent my life as Velkara royalty. I have followed every rule, met every expectation, been everything my culture demanded. I wore this veil because it was tradition, because it was proper, because it was what princesses do." She turned slowly, looking at the assembled crowd. "But I have learned something during my time with humans. I have learned that tradition can be a prison, that rules can be walls, that sometimes the proper thing is not the right thing." Zevroskar spoke up. "This is inappropriate. A private matter should not be public spectacle." "It stopped being private when you brought a fleet," Arenvel replied. "When you made my choice a matter of war or peace. When you decided that my life belonged to politics and strategy rather than to me." She moved to the center of the room. "I want to tell you about the veil. We Velkara claim it is because we are too refined for other species to truly appreciate. We say that our beauty is beyond their comprehension. We hide behind words like superior and evolved and optimized." Her hands moved to the controls of her veil. "But those are lies. Comfortable lies that protect us from truth. The truth is that we are afraid. Afraid of being seen and being rejected. Afraid that if we show ourselves honestly, others will find us lacking. So we hide, and we call it superiority." "Princess, do not do this," one of her delegates pleaded. "You shame the Empire." "No, I honor it by being honest." She looked directly at where Taemin stood. Even through the veil, he felt the weight of her gaze. "I have developed feelings for someone. Deep feelings. The kind that humans call love. But there is a question I need answered. A question that terrifies me." The room was absolutely silent. Every camera focused on her. Every eye watched. "I need to know if someone can love me as I truly am. Not as a genetic profile, not as a political asset, not as a veiled mystery, but as me. In all my difference, in all my strangeness, in all my alien reality." She reached up to the veil's control device at her temple. "So I am going to do something that no Velkara royal has done in 300 years. I am going to drop my veil, and I am going to ask the question that needs asking." Zevroskar stood abruptly. "You will destroy our reputation. You will make us vulnerable to mockery, or I will make us brave enough to be ourselves." Her fingers touched the control. The veil flickered once, twice. Then it dissolved, the particles of light fading away like morning mist. Taemin saw her for the first time. She was tall, taller than he had realized, nearly 7 feet. Her skin was not smooth but had a texture like very fine scales, and it shimmered with an opalescent quality, shifting between blue and silver and soft lavender, depending on how the light hit it. Her face was longer than a human face, more angular, with high cheekbones that seemed almost sharp. Her eyes were the most striking feature, large and multifaceted like a dragonfly's, reflecting light in dozens of colors at once, giving them a prism-like quality. She had no hair, but instead had delicate, feather-like structures that framed her face and moved slightly, as if responding to her emotions, bioluminescent patterns traced across her skin, running along her cheeks, down her neck, and presumably across the rest of her body beneath her robes. They pulsed gently like a heartbeat made visible. Her hands had 4 fingers instead of 5, each longer than human fingers, elegant but alien. She was not human. She was not anything close to human. She was completely, undeniably, fundamentally different. And yet, looking at her, Taemin thought she was one of the most striking beings he had ever seen. The room was completely silent. Dozens of species stared, some in shock, some in fascination, some in disgust. The Velkara delegates looked mortified, as if she had done something obscene. Arenvel stood there, exposed, vulnerable, trembling slightly. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin pulsed faster, betraying her fear. She looked directly at Taman. "I have been honest with you about everything except this," she said. Her voice was different without the veil, the translator having to work harder with the harmonics in her speech. "This is who I am. This is what I look like. I'm not human. I will never be human. My skin feels different when you touch it. My eyes see colors yours cannot. My body is built for a different world, a different evolution, a different existence." She took a breath. The feather-like structures around her face rippled. "But I have the same questions you do. The same hopes. The same fear of being alone. The same need to be seen and accepted for who I truly am." She stepped toward him. Everyone in the room watched. The cameras recorded every moment. This would be seen across the galaxy. This would be analyzed, discussed, remembered. Whatever happened next would matter. She stopped a few feet away from him. Her prism-like eyes caught the light, sparkling with what might have been tears. "Could you love me like this?" The question hung in the air. The question that gave the story its meaning. Could someone love across such vast differences? Could connection survive the shock of true strangeness? Could beauty be found in forms that evolution never prepared you to recognize? Taman was aware of everyone watching. He was aware that his answer would be recorded, that it would represent humanity to the wider galaxy. He was aware that this was a diplomatic moment, a political moment, a moment that could change the relationship between species. But more than that, he was aware of her. Standing there, vulnerable and brave, having cast aside every protection to ask the most fundamental question any being can ask. "Can you love me as I am?" He walked forward, one step then another until he stood directly in front of her. She was taller than him. He had to look up slightly to meet those strange, beautiful, frightening, wonderful eyes. He reached out slowly. His hand moved to her face, to one of the bioluminescent patterns on her cheek. When his fingers made contact with her skin, the pattern flared brighter, pulsing with light. She gasped, a sound the translator caught as surprise and something else. Pleasure, maybe, or relief. Her skin was warm under his touch, warmer than human skin. The texture was smooth, but not quite silk. Not quite anything he could compare it to. The scales were so fine they were almost invisible, but he could feel them. A gentle roughness that was uniquely hers. The bioluminescent pattern under his fingers pulsed in rhythm with what he assumed was her heartbeat. Taman smiled. Taman kept his hand on her cheek, feeling the warmth, the pulse of light beneath his fingers. He could see his own reflection fractured in her prism-like eyes, seeing himself the way she saw him, broken into pieces and beautiful. "I already did," he said softly. Confusion flickered across her face. The feather-like structures around her head shifted. "Did what?" "Love you like this. I fell in love with who you are. Your curiosity, your courage, your willingness to question everything you were taught, your kindness when you talked about human music, your fear when you told me about your arranged marriage, your joy when you discovered poetry." He moved his hand slightly and the bioluminescent pattern followed his touch, lighting up wherever his fingers moved. "This is just what you look like. And you are beautiful." She made a sound that the translator couldn't quite capture, something between a laugh and a sob. Her eyes glistened with what had to be tears, though they looked different from human tears, catching the light like small crystals. "You are not repulsed?" "No, surprised maybe, but not repulsed." "How could I be?" "You are amazing. Look at you. Your skin responds to touch with light. That is incredible. Your eyes catch colors I cannot even see. Your whole body is like a work of art that I am just beginning to understand." He became aware again of the room around them. Everyone was staring. But one person moved. Ambassador Bora walked forward until she stood beside them. She looked at Arenvel directly, her expression thoughtful. "Princess," Bora said, "may I speak?" Arenvel nodded, not trusting her voice. "I am going to tell you something about humans," Bora began, addressing not just Arenvel but the entire room, all the species watching. "We are an emotional species, yes. We are messy and chaotic and inefficient, yes, but we are also survivors. We survived because we learned eventually that difference is not dangerous. Different is just different." She gestured around the room. "In Earth's history, we hurt each other over the smallest variations. Skin color, eye shape, hair texture. We built entire systems of hate over these tiny differences. We enslaved each other. We killed each other. We nearly destroyed ourselves over our inability to accept difference. Her voice grew stronger. But we learned. Painfully, slowly, with many setbacks, we learned. We learned that every human variation was equally valuable. We learned that beauty comes in countless forms. We learned that judging people by appearance is not just wrong, it is stupid. It is a waste. It is choosing blindness when you could choose sight. Bora turned to the Velkara delegates. You call yourselves superior because you hide behind veils. You call yourselves evolved because you engineered your genetics. But you know what I see? I see a species that is afraid. Afraid of being real. Afraid of being vulnerable. Afraid of the very thing that makes life worth living, which is being seen and accepted as you are. Zevroskar stood stiffly. You dare lecture us on evolution? On society? You are children playing in the stars. Your species has not even existed in its modern form as long as our empire has stood. You are right, Bora agreed. We are young. But sometimes young eyes see clearly. Sometimes inexperience is actually wisdom, because we have not had time to build comfortable lies around our fear. Someone else moved. Minji, a human artist who was part of the cultural delegation, approached with a small holographic projector. Princess Arenvel, she said shyly. When I heard you were going to do this, I created something. May I show you? Arenvel nodded. Minji activated the projector. A holographic image appeared in the air. It was Arenvel's face, her real face, but transformed into art. The bioluminescent patterns had been enhanced and extended, turning into flowing rivers of light. The scales of her skin became a mosaic of colors. Her prism eyes were the centerpiece, refracting light into rainbow patterns that surrounded her like a halo. This is how I see you, Minji said. Not as alien. Not as strange. As beautiful. Different beautiful, but beautiful absolutely. Minji touched her projector again. More images appeared. Paintings, sculptures, digital art, all inspired by Velkara physiology. I researched your species. I looked at anatomical databases, cultural records, anything I could find. And I saw art waiting to happen. You are not disturbing, Princess. You are inspiration. Arenvel stared at the images. The bioluminescent patterns all over her body were pulsing rapidly now, a sign of intense emotion. No one has ever made art of us before. Not celebrating us. Not seeing beauty in what we are. Because you never let anyone see you, Minji said gently. How can we celebrate what you hide? Hijin stepped forward next. There is a concept in human culture called reframing. It means looking at the same thing differently. Your scales, for example. You might see them as proof of your divergence from humanoid norms. I see them as evolutionary adaptation that created natural beauty. Your eyes, not strange, magnificent, your bioluminescence? If humans could do that, we would. Trust me. More humans began speaking up. One talked about how Velkara features would be considered elegant in any objective assessment. Another mentioned that human beauty standards had always been arbitrary anyway. A third pointed out that Earth's ocean creatures had similar bioluminescence, and humans had always found them beautiful. But it was Sunwoo who said what needed saying. He approached carefully, his xenopsychologist training evident in every movement. Princess Arenvel, I have studied your species. I know what you fear. You fear that your evolutionary path made you less rather than more, that your genetic engineering created something efficient, but not beautiful, that other species will judge you and find you lacking. He paused. But here is what I learned studying humans. Beauty is not found. Beauty is created. It is created by perception, by context, by understanding. When humans first saw Earth's deep-sea creatures with no eyes and strange appendages and bioluminescence, we thought they were monsters. Then we learned about them. We understood their environment, their adaptations, their lives, and now we think they are some of the most beautiful creatures on our planet. You are asking us to find you beautiful, Sunwoo continued. But beauty is not about meeting some universal standard. It is about being seen, really seen, and you are letting us see you. That's the beautiful thing. Not your appearance, though, that is striking. But your courage, your vulnerability, your willingness to stand here and ask the question. The Velkara delegates were silent. Some looked uncomfortable. But a few, particularly the younger ones, looked thoughtful. One of them, a female whose name tag identified her as Rinvel, stepped forward hesitantly. Princess, she said quietly, I have worn my veil my entire life. I was taught it was protection. Now I wonder if it was prison. Another Velkara joined her. I have never questioned the veil tradition. But watching you, I am questioning everything. A third stepped forward. If humans can accept us as we are, perhaps we have been wrong to hide. Perhaps the fear was ours, not theirs. Zevroskar's voice cut through like ice. This is betrayal. This is corruption. This is proof that humans are dangerous to superior species. They make you doubt what you know to be true. Bora turned to him. Or maybe we help you see what was always true. That superiority based on hiding is not superiority at all. That strength comes from being vulnerable enough to be honest. That evolution is not about perfection. It is about adaptation. And right now your princess is adapting to something better than what your culture offered her. She is promised to me. She is promising herself to choice, Bora replied. And that is her right. As a sentient being, as a person, as someone who deserves to determine her own future. Arenvel spoke then, her voice clear and strong. Zevroskar, I release you from our betrothal. I release myself. I choose to stay here. I choose to learn what it means to be myself without walls. I choose Taman, yes, but more than that. I choose the possibility of becoming something I was never allowed to be. Then you choose exile. Zevroskar said coldly, you choose to be traitor to the Empire. If being myself is treason, then I am guilty. Taman squeezed her hand. She squeezed back, her 4 fingers intertwining with his 5 in a grip that was strong and warm and completely right. Zevroskar stared at them for a long moment. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. Most of the Velkara delegation followed him, but 3 remained, the 3 who had spoken up. The 3 who had questioned. Rinvel approached Arenvel. I would like to stay too. If Earth will have me. I want to learn what you are learning. Me as well, said the second defector. And I, said the third. Ambassador Bora smiled. Earth welcomes all who seek freedom and self-determination. You are welcome here. Zevroskar paused at the door. This is not over. The Empire will not forget. You have made powerful enemies today, and powerful friends, Bora replied. Sometimes that is the trade we make for doing what is right. 6 months had passed since the day Arenvel dropped her veil. 6 months that had changed everything. Taman walked through the new cultural center, still amazed by it. The building was a joint effort designed by both human and Velkara architects. It had smooth curves and sharp angles, organic shapes and geometric precision, all flowing together in a way that represented both species. Gardens surrounded it, mixing earth plants with Velkara vegetation that glowed softly at night. He found Arenvel in the art gallery, standing before a painting. She did that a lot now, just stood and looked at art. She had told him once that she was trying to make up for a lifetime of not seeing beauty in things. Hey, he said softly, coming to stand beside her. She turned and her face lit up. That still amazed him too, how expressive she was. The Velkara had taught their people to suppress emotions, but Arenvel had spent 6 months learning how to feel openly. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin pulsed brighter when she was happy, dimmed when she was sad, flickered when she was thinking hard. She was like a living mood ring, every emotion visible. Look at this, she said, gesturing to the painting. It is a human child's drawing of their family. The proportions are wrong, the colors are strange, but you can feel the love in every line. This is what I was missing. This pure, unoptimized expression of feeling. Taman smiled. You are becoming more human every day. Is that bad? No, but don't lose what makes you Velkara either. The best version of you is probably somewhere in between. She leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. They fit together awkwardly because of the height difference. But they had learned to make it work. That was the story of their relationship, really. Constant adaptation. Constant learning. Constant choice to make it work despite every difference. Yuna wants to see us later, Arenvel said. She has results from the latest tests. Taman felt a flutter of nervousness. Yuna was a genetic specialist who had been studying human and Velkara biology. The question was whether their 2 species could ever have children together. It was not something they had planned to think about so soon, but Arenvel had wanted to know if it was even possible. Are you nervous? He asked, terrified. What if we are too different? What if this relationship can never be complete? It is already complete. We love each other. We are together. Everything else is extra. She lifted her head to look at him. Her prism eyes caught the gallery light scattering rainbows. You always know what to say. I have had good practice. You ask me hard questions. They walked through the center together, hand in hand. They passed other mixed species couples now. Arenvel's choice had started something. Other Velkara had begun questioning the veil tradition. Other species had begun examining their own prejudices. Change was happening slowly but definitely. In the main atrium, they ran into Hyejin. She was leading a tour group of young Velkara, refugees who had left the Empire seeking the freedom to be themselves. And this mosaic, Hyejin was saying, represents the concept of unity and difference. Each piece is unique, but together they create something beautiful. One of the young Velkara raised a hand. Teacher Hyejin, when did humans learn to accept difference? Hyejin saw Taemin and Arenvel and smiled. We are still learning. Every single day. But the important thing is that we try. We fail sometimes. We make mistakes, but we keep trying because we believe that every person, no matter how different, deserves to be seen and valued. Later, they met Yuna in her laboratory. She was a small woman with bright eyes and excited energy. Okay, she said, pulling up holographic displays. So the news is complicated. Human and Velkara genetics are, unsurprisingly, very different. Natural conception is impossible. However, she paused dramatically. With medical assistance, genetic harmonization, and some very careful adjustments, we could potentially create viable embryos. It would be difficult. It would be expensive. It would require procedures we have never attempted before. But theoretically, it is possible. Arenvel's bioluminescent patterns pulsed rapidly. We could have children. Someday, not now. We need years of research first. And the children would be something entirely new. Not quite human. Not quite Velkara. Something in between. Taemin thought about that. Children who were bridges between species. Children who would belong to both worlds and neither. Children who would have to create their own identity in a galaxy that liked simple categories. They would have a hard life, he said quietly. Maybe, Yuna agreed, or maybe they would be the first of something amazing. The first generation that truly belongs to the galaxy, not just one species. After they left the lab, Taemin and Arenvel walked in silence for a while. Finally, Arenvel spoke. Do you want children? Eventually. I don't know. I never really thought about it before, do you? I was supposed to have children with Zevroskar, genetically optimized offspring to continue the royal line. It was decided before I was born. She looked at him. But now I get to decide. And that is so strange and so wonderful that I do not even know what I want. Then we do not decide now. We just be together. And if we want children later, we figure it out then. She smiled. You make everything sound simple. Love is simple. It is everything else that is complicated. They walked to the center's main hall where the inauguration ceremony was about to begin. Youngjae was there, representing Earth's government. A Velkara ambassador was there too, not from the main empire, but from one of the reform colonies that had split off after Arenvel's defection. The ceremony was beautiful. Speeches about cooperation and understanding, music that blended human and Velkara instruments, a moment of silence for all those who had suffered from prejudice and fear. When it was over, Bora found them. There is news from the Velkara homeworld, she said. The reform movement is growing. They are calling themselves the Unveiled. They want to end the veil tradition and reevaluate how the Empire interacts with other species. How is the government responding? Arenvel asked, with fear and resistance, but also with some openness. Your cousin, Prince Dalcor, has spoken publicly in support of reform. He has not dropped his veil yet, but he has questioned the tradition. That is progress. Arenvel's patterns dimmed slightly. He will face consequences for that. Probably. But change always has a cost. The question is whether the cost is worth the benefit. Later that evening, Taemin and Arenvel returned to their quarters. They had decided to live together 3 months ago, in an apartment designed for mixed-species couples. It had adjustable lighting for her sensitive eyes, temperature controls for both their comfort zones, and furniture that accommodated different body types. I have been working on something, Arenvel said. She pulled out a data pad. Remember when you taught me about memoirs? About how humans write their life stories to share with others? You wrote a memoir? I am writing one. It is not finished yet, but I want to tell our story. I want other Velkara to read it and understand that there is another way to live. That you can be yourself without being perfect. That you can be loved without being optimized. What are you going to call it? She looked at him with those beautiful, strange, perfect eyes. Could you love me like this after what you said to me? After the question that changed everything. Taman felt emotion rising in his chest. Can I read it? When it is done. I want it to be good. I want it to help people. They sat together on their couch designed to fit both their bodies. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly below them. They were still on Horizon's Promise, which had been repurposed as a cultural exchange vessel. Home base for the new era of human-alien cooperation. Do you ever regret it? Taman asked. Everything you gave up? Your title, your people, your entire life? Arenvel thought about that. I miss some things. I miss my cousin. I miss the gardens of the palace. I miss the certainty of knowing my place in the world. She squeezed his hand. But I do not miss the veil. I do not miss being someone else's genetic property. I do not miss living a life chosen for me rather than by me. What do you think will happen? With your people, with the reform movement, with everything? I do not know. Maybe nothing changes. Maybe the empire stays the same forever, hiding behind veils and pretending superiority. Or maybe, just maybe, I started something. Maybe other Velkara will drop their veils. Maybe we will learn to be vulnerable. Maybe we will discover that being seen is better than being protected. She turned to face him fully. But even if nothing changes, even if I am the only Velkara who ever does this, it was worth it. Because I found you. Because I found myself. Because I learned what it means to be alive rather than just existing. Taman pulled her close, adjusting for their height difference, feeling her warmth, seeing her bioluminescent patterns pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. They were different in every way that mattered. Different species, different evolution, different everything. By all logical standards, they should not work. But love was not logical. Love was brave. Love was choosing to see beauty in strange places. Love was accepting someone completely, not despite their differences, but including their differences. Outside, the cultural center glowed in the darkness. Inside, two beings from different worlds held each other.